Who would have thought that Forex trading could be so effortless and easy? And I trade like now with basically no trading strategy. But I mean, I guess I can't say that because technically I do certain things. I'm going to break down my analysis for today. So for those of you that are on my free Telegram channel, I posted these this morning here as well as some stuff last night. I'll put a link in the description. You can join. This is just a place where I share my trades and analysis for free every single day. Been running it for 8 years. But here's what I shared. So I'm short on GBP JPY because we have a resistance zone. You can see I don't even have the zones drawn in on the chart because for me, if I can't obviously see it without having to draw a little zone, then it's not worth using anyway. Normally I'll just put the zones in so people who are following my trades can see that that's where the zone was. But honestly, if I say I'm buying right here, it's at a support zone. And if I say I'm selling right here, it's at a resistance zone. It's very straightforward. A lot of what I've been doing recently is I've just been using alerts to draw the zones because, like, let's say, for example, I think price might come down here to this region where these lows are. Well, what I will do is I'll just look at where price bounced, right? And then instead of just drawing the zone like that, I will basically just set the alert and then I'll drag it to the portion of the zone, right? Because it's a region. It's not like it's one exact area, but I'll draw it to the actual portion of the zone where I would likely get long at, where I would likely buy at, and then I will look to enter there. Same thing for this little region where price is at right now. I'm long on Euro GBP right here. These are the current trades I'm in. Long Euro GBP and I'm short GBP JPY. And it's just super, super simple and easy, and that's why I call it effortless, is because once you know exactly what to do, trading does not become this thing where it's like super ridiculously hard and difficult to duplicate and replicate and be consistent and be predictable. It becomes something that's like almost like mindless. Like you look at the chart, you set the alerts, you wait for price to get to a region where you want to buy or sell, then you buy or sell, put a stop loss past the zone, a target at a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, and then you just let the stats play out. If it starts going into profit, I generally hold the trade, and if it starts going into loss, a lot of the time I try to get out of the trade a little bit early. So that means even though I'm using 1-to-1 risk reward ratios, whenever I have profit targets met, it's the full TP. But oftentimes when I have a loss, I don't actually lose the full unit of risk, right? I'll lose like half of it or like break even or something like that. So we're gonna see where these are gonna go. I'm gonna kind of walk through my analysis here. So there's a couple things here. So GBP JPY, we're approaching this previous little daily resistance zone right here, that little high right there. So for the trade that I'm in, I'm short right now. I've got to stop past that high. I just think it could bounce before it. And we also have another zone up here that price could get to. So I'm going to look at that as we come into this week. Euro GBP, we've got price bouncing here at a little support zone. If we actually draw the support zone, we can draw it right there. You can see that aside from this little spike below and spike back up, this zone has been pretty nicely respected all other times. So I think it's a pretty decent zone. It's certainly decent enough to just go long at. I've got a stop loss below this little low right here at the zone. If we fall below, you know, I'll lose the trade. And if we bounce here, I'll make a nice little profit. I've risked $10,000 on this right now. USD Canadian dollar, we had a nice little trade last night. I called a buy right here at support. That one rocketed up and then hit the profit target. Another thing I like about using 1-to-1 risk reward ratios is that you don't have to really be a hero. You don't have to target like these crazy, insane targets to get your profit targets met. If you look, I just bought at the support zone. It's a clearly defined zone. Prices bounced here multiple times. I just bought. I put a stop loss below, and with the target being at 1-to-1, it's a lot more easy and simple and effortless for price to actually go and meet the profit target instead of you having to hold out for like 1-to-3, 1-to-4, 1-to-5, 1-to-10 risk reward ratio. That's just something I see is really, really hard to duplicate, and it's really difficult for someone to get through the losing streaks, even if you're profitable doing it. It's really difficult psychologically for someone to keep on taking trades, knowing that regularly they're going to lose like 10, 15 trades in a row if they're using a high enough risk-reward ratio. And maybe it's not that way with like 1-to-2 risk-reward, but like certainly with like 1-to-5, 1-to-10, all the time you'll get losing streaks of like 5 to 10 trades in a row. That's just not something I think is viable for a lot of people. And that's just my opinion, but you know, whatever. I've been doing this 10 years. I've made millions of dollars trading Forex, crypto, and stocks. That's just my opinion. Take it as you will. So last night we had this profit target hit. I also called 2 more trades that both got stopped out last night. And then we'll see where these 2 current trades go. So one of them was right here, GBP NZD. I called this one was this 8:30 p.m. last night. You can see I just sold at this little resistance zone right here, stop above, target below. This one actually ended up being right about it. It did in fact fall, I think. No, never mind. I was talking about USD CAD. So yeah, I sold up here, price went above, hit the stop loss, then we ended up falling, but this one would not have been a profitable outcome. The one I'm talking about here, which was next, was USD Canadian dollar. This was a real simple trade. So it was USD Canadian dollar here on the 1 hour chart. I called it this morning. It was like what, 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. So I entered a sell. You can see I just entered where the highs were at. Very, very simple. Stop above, target below. This was one of the ones that just barely went above. Tapped the stop loss just above the zone, and then it ended up falling. So this one would have won, but the stop loss was just right there. Hit the stop. That's going to happen all the time. There's no real way to avoid that unless you're not using a stop loss, which comes with its own set of cons, which I think is like not the best way to manage things, because you get caught in liquidity spikes and momentum sweeps and stop loss cascades as price can like blow off in one direction. So it's one of these things where it's like, it's just better to use a stop loss and accept sometimes you'll have it pinned out before it goes in the direction you thought it would. And then you can just leave it at that because it protects your downside. So it is what it is. So that's that. Then you can see this morning at 7:45 a.m. So literally like 30 minutes ago, I called this long on your GBP. We already went over this, right? I just set a major daily support. This up here, I'm viewing it on the 4 hour chart, but most of my analysis is based off the daily time frame. That's kind of where it all starts. Price hit this zone and I bought, and I put a stop below and a target above. So we'll see what happens. If it bounces, I'll make 10K. If it starts going against me, I'll either lose 10K at the stop loss, 10,500 technically, or if it goes against me a little bit and I get out a little bit early, I might lose like, I don't know, 5K or something. And then of course I'm long on GBP JPY. Sorry, I'm short on GBP JPY. Sold at the resistance zone. You can see my stop loss is all the way up here past that previous high. This gives me just a little bit of room just in case it does come to that high. It can still bounce and come back down here to the entry, at which point I might be able to get out at break even, or if it looks like the momentum is good and we're starting to sell off with big bear candles, I'll just try to hold it and hopefully we can get that profit target met. So those are the trades I'm in right now. If we're going a little bit further into this, let's go to AUD JPY. I don't see a lot of stuff here on the higher time frames for these pairs. You could make the argument that AUD JPY is at a break and retest of this zone right now, right? So we've broken below, we might come back up here, retest, sort of like we're doing now, and then break that back down below. The problem is whenever I see an uptrend like this, I'm less likely to want to take a trade to counter the market. I would rather just do something like take a buy, on a break and retest, right? You get plenty of opportunities for stuff like that. This is a break and retest here. That would have been a nice buy. There's a break and retest here. Price broke above that previous high, came back, touched its support multiple times, came back here. Literally this most recent one broke, retest, that actually had a bounce. But now we've actually come back down here and failed at this zone. It started to kind of break below, but we'll have to see how the candle closes. So we will see for AUD JPY. NZD USD, I'm actually waiting on a short for this right now. I'm waiting on price to get up here. This is a pretty clear daily support resistance zone. You can see we're just visualizing it here on the 1 hour time frame. If price gets up into this region, I'm probably going to be selling right about there, right around these previous highs, and my stop will go above the zone and above those little recent highs as well. And again, we don't even really need the zones here for this. We can just, it's very, very simple, right? If it's not clear enough for you to see without having to draw the damn zone, then maybe you shouldn't be taking the trade off the zone in the first place. CAD JPY. So I got this. I'm going to update this analysis a little bit. I was considering selling here along these highs. What I'm going to do is move this alert up here to those highs and look to sell up there. That's a pretty clear daily zone where we've bounced at twicely. I was going to say nicely. We've bounced at nicely, twicely. So twice prices bounced pretty nicely at that little resistance zone. It's bounced twicely. USD JPY is also an interesting one. Barely came to the alert last night before we sold off this morning the last 3 hours. So this one would have been cool if it would have gotten here to this alert, but it didn't. And so, there's no trade. It is what it is. USD CHF, we could be bouncing right here. And as a matter of fact, this doesn't look bad. Let me go here to the daily and let's see what we got. Yeah, to be honest, I think USD CHF is worth a shot. I'll probably be calling this trade right after I get done with this video. So let me just go in here. I'm going to post this in the free Telegram channel. Let me see where I could set the alert. I'm going to set the alert just a little bit deeper. I might just be entering at market, but I mean, technically it's a region where prices had a nice bounce at. So we shall see. I will be looking to probably trade it. Yeah, I mean, I think this is worth a shot. So I'll probably be looking to trade this. It's either going to bounce or break, and support resistance is not good for predicting price. It's just good for giving you a simple, effortless way to structure the risk for the trade, right? You have to look at it as though, like, you're not saying that price gets to the zone and saying, okay, I think it's going to bounce here. You're saying price has gotten to a clear support zone where it's bounced multiple times before, and I know that if I buy here and put a stop below and a target above, that You have a clear place to enter because support resistance zones gives you a place to enter trades. You have a clear place to structure your risk because you can put your invalidation, which is your stop loss in most cases, just past the zone. And then you can just set your TP at a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. Then the beauty comes in behind the dynamic trade management. What the fuck does that mean? It means getting out of the trade early if it looks like it's not going to work. Meaning if it starts to go sideways, if it starts to trickle against you slowly, if it starts to break the zone, right, and it's halfway to your stop, you can just close there. And then every now and then, say you're asleep or you're at work or you're doing something else, price will hit the stop loss, and that's okay. That's what it's for. The stop loss is there for me in like the case of mainly just like an emergency. Like I don't have time to manage it. It'll hit the stop, I'll lose the full unit of risk. Then when it goes to the target, it's important to try to hold the trades under most circumstances to the profit target. There's some instances where you might get out early, like say it's like a Friday, the market's about to close for the weekend, and price is like, I don't know, 75%, 80% of the way to your profit target. That might be a better case to just close there, because otherwise you're going to have to deal with the swap fees, the gaps, the high spreads, all sorts of shit that you probably don't want to deal with. So in that case, it might be better to just close there in profit, even though it's not necessarily to the profit target. So that's an example of things like that. So we'll go here, we'll drop this USD CHF analysis in the Telegram channel. USD CHF, I'm looking to buy soon. And of course, I'll call the exact trade out here in the Nick's Trades channel. This is a Discord server where I share all my live trades. It's a monthly fee for you to join this if you want, but honestly, if you just follow my videos here on YouTube and you follow my analysis on Telegram, you don't get the exact trades I take, right? But I'll share them after the fact and recap them. But if you want them in real time, just be able to follow them and just make money following my live trades, then you can just join the Discord group here. And that's where I call all my live trades. So going on to Euro USD, I don't see anything. We've got like a nice little zone right here, but price is not really close to that. I might be looking to take a trade there if we can do that. We've also got this little smaller term zone. If we go to the 1 hour chart, it's actually not even that clear on the 1 hour. I was going to say something like this, but to be honest, that's not really that clear. I think I'm going to just leave this alone for now unless we get something else set up. Euro Canadian dollar, I don't see anything. Maybe price might come all the way up here and then start to bounce maybe at like this little zone here. We might go down, but we'll have to see. I don't see anything right now, so I'm going to leave it alone. Daily chart on Euro AUD almost got to our alert last week, but instead didn't. I guess this would have been 2 weeks ago. Didn't get all the way down there to the lows, so now we're popping up here. There is a zone right here, but the problem is it's a question of how clear is it, right? So could we sell right there? Sure. But you know what? We could also sell right here if price gets into this region, because that's where most of the price action is. And then if you want to be safe, then you encapsulate the whole region. How the hell are you going to structure this? Where are you going to enter? You're going to enter right here in the low of the zone and put a stop above. You're going to wait for it midway. You're going to wait for it to come all the way up here. That's why, if you're doing this and you're setting your alerts, you need to have your alert at the area where you would actually enter. So let's say, for example, you just wanted to be real safe and you wanted to wait for it to get all the way up here. You'd set your alert up at the exact point where you think it would be reasonable to enter. So we have an interaction there. We have an interaction of support right here. And then we've got like kind of sort of a little, it broke below and tested as resistance twice right there. And so if you're setting your alerts at the actual areas you want to enter, your job becomes very, very effortless, because as long as price gets there, right, you'll get the trading view alert to your phone or your computer or whatever your trading platform is. Then when you get that trading view alert, for me personally, I trade on MetaTrader 5. So I go to my phone and then I enter on MetaTrader 5 mobile and I can structure the trade and do that there. This whole process takes like 60 seconds, right? If you've pre-planned the trade and if your analysis is simple and you're not using a bunch of crazy indicators or, oscillators or different types of like structures for like could bounce here, here, here. If you just look at the damn chart, you look at where current market price is, and you just draw like the clearest zone using an alert above or below price, wherever it is you think price might bounce at. All you have to do is just freaking wait. Then you already know what you're going to do whenever you get that alert, right? Price gets to the zone, you're going to buy it, support, or sell at resistance. Okay, it's not like super complicated. So for Euro AUD, I'll be waiting for that. I don't see anything clear here though, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this off. That was just an example. We'll see what happens this week. The GBP Canadian dollar. This is a cool one. Now, I don't know how long it would take to get up here to this resistance, if we can even get there, but I think this right here is a pretty nice clear place to be entering a sell off of. We've got an interaction here, 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 here. This you might call a little bit of a liquidity spike or a fake out, just a little bit of leakage past the zone, but then it came back, found resistance right there. I think this is a pretty good area to be entering sells at. It just might take a while because this is a daily chart, so we'll see. As far as this little zone right here, I think price is probably going to end up breaking past this week. I could be wrong, but you know, we found major support. We pushed up here, we've broken through the zone, came back below, now we're here at the zone. Maybe it ends up bouncing literally right here and ends up going to the downside. We just don't know, but I'll be waiting for the clear set up there on the daily. GBP NZD, I've already taken this one. I already took a sell. That one didn't work out. So I'm going to wait and see. Honestly, if GBP NZD comes back down here, I could see this being a good buy. It is a pretty clear support zone, at least for me, especially on the daily chart. So I've got an alert sitting right there. It's basically here at the recent lows. GBP AUD, I don't see anything except for this little 1 hour zone, but I don't know if it's enough to cause me to want to trade off of it. This might be a good little short-term trade with lower risk. So let me get this in here. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not that bad. GBP AUD, I do think this is worth a shot. So I'm gonna be calling this in my Discord server right after I get off this video. I'll be probably taking a short here at this zone. Yeah, I mean, this looks decent. So let me go ahead and share it in the free Telegram channel. Again, if you want to follow all my trades, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment. You can join this free Telegram channel. There's like 50,000 members in here that just follow my trades and analysis. So GBP AUD, I'm looking to get short soon. Okay, cool. So I've shared that there. All right, so now let's continue a little bit lower. We got AUD USD. I don't see anything for right now. A lot of these USD pairs are torn up. There's a buy right here at that zone, but it's already kind of started to bounce, right? So we'll have to kind of wait and see. I'm going to give it just a little bit. AUD Canadian dollar, I don't see anything for now. We had a short at the resistance zone up here, which was last week, and I missed that trade, which really, really sucks because it was a pretty nice trade. It was this right here. Price just came up into the resistance zone, started to bounce away. I have no good reason for missing that trade. Yes, I still make mistakes trading. I could have risked anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 on this, so like 30K to 50K. I missed it completely. I don't know why I missed it. Maybe I didn't have my alert set or something, but there's really no excuse for me having missed that. This was a pretty nice clear trade, especially on the daily chart. A price just coming into a resistance zone where it bounced over and over. So the entry would have been here, stop would have been above the zone, target at 1-to-1. That would have already been met. So, you know, missing out on that trade cost me like $30,000 to $50,000. So, you know, it sucks, but it's a part of trading. GBP USD, I see nothing. Euro JPY, we're kind of still going in a range. I think other JPY pairs are nicer and present better opportunities right now. CHF JPY, I see nothing, same sort of thing. And NZD JPY, I've got an alert here. The thing is this would have to be kind of like a shorter term trade. This is really, really clear short term, right? Maybe if you go to the daily, not so much, but right here, NZD JPY, it does look pretty nice. And you could also make the same argument for this support zone down here. But I mean, you know, we've already bounced. So I'm going to be waiting on this. We're going to go ahead and see, you know, it's in no man's land right here in the middle of the trenches. We got this one over here. We got this one down here. I'm going to kind of wait to see what we can get on this. So that's it for Forex. As far as crypto, Solana has had a nice spike this morning. We went almost 7% in one candle on the 1 hour. So that was 6.98. So basically 7% in one candle. That's about $3.5 billion of market cap for Solana, which has like a little over a $50 billion market cap right now. That is pretty wild. So I'm hoping that crypto does in fact have a nice little bull move. I'll be looking to get out of my long positions here. This is before my break-even point on crypto. My Solana holdings, I've got over 1 million of Solana. My price is 138 for average price because I've been adding as we've been coming down here. On Bitcoin and crypto last year, I made about 1.9, like basically almost 2 million, like 1.98 million last year. And that was just from crypto alone. And now over the past like 6 months, I've given back about 900,000, actually a little bit less since price is starting to bounce. At the worst point down here, I've given back 900,000. Now we're up off the lows about 30%. So I don't know. I'm still down like maybe like 650, 700,000. So we'll see what happens. I've given back like maybe a third to a half of what I made last year in crypto, plus profits from Forex, and then plus profits from US equities and stocks going up because we had a good year in stocks. I'm going to see exactly what crypto does, but as for now, I'm looking to liquidate as soon as price gets right here to this zone. I think we're probably going to have some sort of a bounce here. Then I can buy back in on a dip, and then we might, the idea would be hopefully we get a little break above. If I sell here and price does in fact get above this zone, what I'll be looking to do is I'll just be looking to get back into my long positions. So the idea would be like, price comes up here to this zone, I sell, and let's say it doesn't really have a drop and it starts it just kind of holds there at resistance, goes sideways, then breaks above, I'll just be looking to get back into a portion of my position right there. If we can have a little blow off top back up to here, I'd make back most of everything that I'm down right now. But again, we'll have to see. Crypto is really uncertain. There's a lot of volatility oftentimes. So we got to be taking it from a risk-adjusted perspective, which for me is just, I'm comfortable risking what I'm risking. I got millions of dollars in trading capital, so I can stand like little drawdowns and stuff. I say little, but like, $900,000. I don't know if a lot of you would consider that like a little drawdown. But for me and my trading capital, it's worth the risk given the fact that I think crypto will go up long term. So for now, I'm sitting here looking at USD CHF, GBP AUD sell. So I'll probably be, USD CHF has already taken off from the zone, honestly. So I'm just going to wait for price to pop back down and head to the zone. If that happens, I'll probably get long. The risk structure has to be set up that way. Because if I enter here and I put a stop loss below and a target at 1-to-1, we got to get all the way up here for me to hit the 1-to-1 target. Check this out. If I just don't do that, and instead, if I wait for price to come down here into the support zone, I can buy right there, and then now, with the same target as 1-to-2, right? But I'm going to use 1-to-1. My target only has to be that, right? So had I just been able to get an entry here at this zone and price bounces, I'm already halfway to my profit target if this is the case. So that's why, even though, you technically can enter when price starts bouncing at a zone and leaving, it's just easier if you enter at the zone because your stop loss is the same location. It's on the other side of the zone. You know real quick if you're wrong. And if you're right, you're generally right pretty quickly, and it bounces and it has a little move and it goes to your profit target. So it's nice and simple, very, very clean, very, very effortless. So with that said, that's my analysis for today. If you found this video useful and you did in fact hit the like button, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm gonna get back to these. I'm gonna post some stuff in Telegram. I'm gonna get on a call with clients, and I will see you guys in the next video. Happy trading, my friends.